This is Shirleen with the Southern Gal's Kitchen, and I want to welcome you here today. I am working on tomatoes. In the summer, when we grow tomatoes or we buy tomatoes, I did buy these actually. I don't have any fresh yet, but a lot of people have a lot of fresh tomatoes in the summer, or you buy a bulk of them at a farmer's stand or in a store, and maybe find them on sale. With food prices going up and up and up, we're going to have to be more conservative with how we spend our food dollars, and one way to do that is to start dehydrating and canning and doing things that you can do to save money. So we're going to work on tomatoes today. And what I did for this recipe, it's pretty much a whole head of garlic I've minced up here. Already minced it up in little pieces. Not just a clove, but an entire head. Put in as much garlic or little as you want. I like a lot of garlic. I'm going to make marinara sauce. And I have about 6 pounds of tomatoes. I've already put these in boiling water. I just dumped them. You bring some boiling water to a boil, and then you get a big bowl with ice water in it. You dump the tomato in the boiling water just for 15-30 seconds. When it starts to split, then you dunk it into the cold, and then when that cools, just maybe 10 seconds, you don't want to leave it in the cold water too long. Take them out. I take the core out, and the skins just come right off. So it's really, really easy. So I've got my tomatoes ready, and I'm going to put them in this bowl in just a minute. I've got about 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. I'm going to put in a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of pepper, and I've got fresh basil and oregano out of my garden. And I'm going to put these in whole because I can pull them out at the end. It'll give flavor. I've got about 4 nice pieces of oregano. I'll go ahead and put it in. And I've got quite a bit of basil here. I'm just going to put in some whole pieces. Now you can use dried. I've got that much. You can use dried. If you use dried, use about a teaspoon of basil dried and a teaspoon of oregano. You might use a half teaspoon. Try more. You can always add more in. You want to make this to the flavor that you like. So we're going to put our tomatoes in here. And I did turn these upside down when I took them out and peeled them on a sheet tray. And just let that water, excess water, drain out of them a little bit. You don't really need any more water in here than what's necessary. What we're going to do with these, we're going to mash them up with our hands. Just get some clean hands. I like chunky sauce, and so I'm just going to make them chunky. If you wanted a fine sauce, see that water left in there? I'm not going to use that. There's going to be enough water in here as it is. Now this pan is almost not big enough, but when I get them munched up, be careful, you'll get it all over you, then it's going to be okay. But you can use this for a spaghetti sauce with or without meat. You can use it with, I like to use cooked shrimp with pasta, and I'll use some kind of fresh tomato sauce with that. I like this on chicken. In fact, I'm going to grill some chicken tonight, and I'll probably cook it on my grill. And then I'll put a little bit of white cheese on top of it, and then after it cooks, and let it melt, and then I'll spin a little bit of this sauce over the top of that. It'll be really, really good. So a lot of things you can do with it. You could spin it over some meatloaf and whatever you wanted to like that. But you just want to munch these up. You're not worried about munching up your fresh herbs. Just the tomatoes. Again, keep them in chunks, which is the way I like mine. I like it chunky. It's going to cook down some. You could always blend it up more if you want to, but you're going to have kind of a watered down sauce. This is not thick like the jar sauce. It's going to be a thinner. The homemade is so much better. It's so fresh and so good. And we'll use some of this tonight. I'll cool it, and I'll bag some of it up and put it in the freezer, and then I'll put them in quart bags. And if you put them in your quart bag, the sauce, after it's cooled, put the bags down flat on like a cookie sheet or something, then stick it in your freezer. They'll freeze flat. Then you can bag up those bags and slip them all down into maybe a gallon bag or something. Kind of keep them together. That way you just take out a quart at a time. Unless you have a larger family, then you might want to do a gallon bag. I don't know. Depends on how much you want at one time. I like mine in quart bags. So after we get these munched up, we're going to be ready to add our garlic and our salt and our pepper. chunking that tomato down. It needs to be chunky, but not big chunks. And any hard pieces, just pick them out. Get rid of those, because you'll find some. Some tomatoes will have more of that than others. Some tomatoes have more water than others. But I like to make this in the summer when it's fresh, because I've never found anything in a jar that I like as well. So I like to really make this up when it's fresh, and really like the best is just to eat it with it when it's fresh too. We'll add in our garlic, our olive oil, and about a teaspoon. We'll start with that. I can always add more salt, can't take it out. In fact, I'm going to put about a half a teaspoon. I can always add more in later. And I think I'll add in a little bit of garlic powder, about half a teaspoon of black pepper too. We'll taste it after it cooks for about an hour. And I like to let it cook for about an hour to kind of cook down some. It's going to be a looser sauce. It's going to be a really good sauce. I think I will get my onion powder out, and I'll put just a little of that in. You could chop up fresh onion in there too, but the onion powder also works well. I'll let this cook about an hour, and then we'll come back. Something else I do, I told you I skinned my tomatoes, dunk them in boiling water, then in cold, take the core out, the top core, and then the skins, put them out flat on your dehydrator trays. And I've got one of these mats under here, and I've already had these dehydrating for a little bit. They're already starting to get a little bit dry, but they will start sticking. So when they get partway dry, you got to start turning them over. These are ready to turn over, because they'll stick and then you won't get them off of there. You could put parchment paper on, that would help. But I'm just going to turn these over. I've got about 4 trays of skins, and what I'll do with those is make tomato powder. It won't make much because I don't have a lot here, but I will add it to what I have, because I make it and I keep it in a bag in my freezer. And when I need to make soups and stews and chilies, see, these are really already starting to stick after about an hour of dehydrating, about 125. Turn them over, and then that way they won't just stick so bad that you lose everything you've got to work with. You can do that. They stick too much and they're thin like this, you won't get them off. It just won't happen. So don't throw away your skins, just wash them really well. The boiling really helps get rid of any germs on there. Make tomato powder and use that. Flavors up lots and lots of things. So we'll be back. To go with my marinara sauce that I just made for tonight, I'm grilling some chicken thighs. I put adobe seasoning on 3 of them. I left one with just salt, and I'm going to give it to my dog. She won't eat the whole thing, but I'll break it up. Some today, some another day. She likes it. But the adobe, I make my own. You can find a lot of recipes online. Someday I'm going to do a thing on different seasonings that I make, but I don't have that today for you. But I'll cook this until it's done. I'll turn it over after a while, and I will put some cheese on it and let it melt. The cooker has a lid, and I'm going to put the lid on. And then when I put the cheese on there, it'll melt it really fast too. And then I'll pour a little bit of that homemade sauce over it, which will be done. It takes about an hour for it to cook. So I've got it again cooking, and I've already tasted it. It's just amazing. It's fresh tomato and that basil and garlic and all that in there. You just cannot get that in a jar. You can't. I love it. And I love to make it in the summer and freeze some to have it in winter. When you freeze tomatoes, they can get a little watery. We know that. So you may have to cook it down a little bit with a little bit of tomato sauce if you need to. But it's still good. Melted cheese on it. When it got brown, I just turned it over. Put the cheese on there. I used provolone. Put the lid on the grill and let it melt. And then I poured my homemade sauce over it. It's wonderful looking. The sauce I tasted it, it's just really good. It's perfect. I did add some more, I added some everything bagel seasoning, which has some garlic and things in it. And I added another teaspoon of salt. You make this and season it as you cook it and get it the way you want it. But this is a really good meal, and with the chicken thighs, it's more economical than chicken breast, and I actually like them better. I think they're juicier, but that's your call. You could do these on a meat substitute kind of chicken thing too, so whatever you want. But I hope Hope you enjoy this, and we'll see you on the next show.